Prevention. Chapter 1. Proactivity. Twilight Sparkle awoke with a snort as the library's door rumbled. The sun was close to being set, just starting to touch the horizon. A candle on the desk that she sat at had burned down heavily, a small flickering flame quickly blown out by the pony's movements. She glanced down at the book that had served as her pillow, Pony Politics Throughout the Ages, before shaking her head to remove any lingering sleepiness.
That's odd. I was really interested in this book. How could I have fallen asleep? Was Spike right about mixing coffee with one of Pinky's rainbow cakes?
Before she could ponder this question further, the door rumbled again, unmistakably the sound of someone urgently requesting entry.
Coming!
Twilight called, rushing to the door. No pony had come by in the last few days, so she was eager to help this one with whatever they needed. Quickly composing herself, she opened the door, letting in the waning sunlight. The pony she didn't recognize stood in front of her, a stallion in a tattered cloak with a hood over his head.
Welcome to Ponyville.
She was cut off as a hoof slammed into her face, not gently to prevent talking, but instead a violent action that knocked her down and sent her sliding across the floor. She sat dazed for seconds that felt eternal, trying to piece together what had just happened from the fragments of senses that she could recover. These unconscious but important efforts were put on hold as she realized two more important things. She was being lifted through the air, floating back towards the library door, and she couldn't breathe. The stallion was a unicorn, and she could now feel the magic that he was wrapping around her neck as he dragged her back towards him. Her hooves came up, vainly tapping at the solid magic. She tried to say something, but the grip was tight enough that she couldn't even exhale. Her vision started going dark, and she looked in terror at her murderer's scarred face coming into view. His mane partially hid a patch over one eye, but the other was clear and coldly focused. She felt an odd familiarity with the pony, like she had seen him numerous times before. Then, he was on fire. Twilight dropped to the ground as the stallion's cloak went up in flame. She sucked in a breath painfully. Looking up, she saw the stallion rearing, shaking his head to try and fling a small green and purple mass from on top of it. Spike clung on, fangs dug into the pony's scalp and claws tearing into his cheeks. The stallion roared, and Spike was lifted in a light rose-colored blob of magic from the pony's head, and then flung into a bookshelf. The baby dragon fell to the floor like a rag doll, and he groaned.
Spike!
She screamed, rushing to her fallen assistant. He looked up at her, obviously in pain. An arm was bent oddly, and he gasped as he tried to push himself up with it. Twilight glanced at the stallion, currently busy stomping out his flame covering, and turned back to Spike. Her horn glowed as she performed the only spell that she could think of, and Spike disappeared in a pop as he was teleported far away from the Mad Pony to Fluttershy's cottage. Twilight took 2 more deep breaths as she turned to face her now unoccupied assailant. As she looked over him without his cloak, she felt her throat close up again. However, this time there was no magic. The stallion had a blue mane and a white coat, crisscrossed with scars that could have only come from non-magical healing. One blue eye stared at her with more malice than she'd ever thought could be contained in a single pony. On his flank was a shield with a star, much like her own, making up his cutie mark, cut cruelly in half by a jagged scar.
Shining armor?
Hello, Rising Dawn.
No, you're not my brother!
Twilight shook her head, trying to see past whatever illusion the pony had active.
My brother isn't all scarred up like that. He still has both eyes, and he wouldn't try to kill me!
Her brows furrowed, terror being replaced by anger.
You're not my brother. If you're gonna kill me, do it without hiding.
In response, a magic ring popped into existence around Twilight's throat. She once again found herself unable to breathe. The crazy stallion that looked like Shining Armor spoke. Oh, I'm disappointed, Dawn. You really can't tell that I'm your big brother best friend forever? Like, 2 peas in a pod, we did everything together. He shook his head. Not that it matters. You just have to die. Then, she won't. Twilight's heart stopped as her vision darkened once more. She looked down with fading sight to see the tip of a magic barrier sticking out from her chest, just above where her heart would be. Looking back up, she saw a tear flowing down the stallion's face. When he spoke, his voice was hitched. I'm sorry, little sis. Then he was sent flying by a pair of cream-colored hooves. Twilight's lungs once again began doing their duty. Her heart, thrown awry by the shield around it, didn't. Her vision was still darkened, blood flow being non-existent to her brain, and her last memory before everything went black was of a brown and cream stallion running up to her. A spot darkened the area around one of his eyes. Twilight? Come on, Twi, wake up! Hearing came back first, quickly followed by touch. Twilight lay on something soft in a very quiet room. A familiar claw held on to one hoof. Spike's voice overtook the beeping of a machine close by.
Please, Twi, you need to wake up! Please!
A door opened, then closed.
Spock.
A drawling mare's voice spoke softly. The young dragon sniffed.
Spock, it's only been 3 days. Doc said that she's undergone a whole hay of trauma. She's just gonna take time to heal is all.
I know,
the dragon responded. His voice turned from sad to tense.
Has he talked yet?
No more than the other one. Keep saying that he'll talk to the princesses and what he did was necessary.
Applejack made a small shuddering noise.
That's what scares me.
What do you mean?
Spock, he's being honest. He's completely and truly thinks that killing Twilight is something that needs to be done. Mix that with how much he looks like her brother and...
The machine blared as Twilight's eyes shot open. She stared at the ceiling for several seconds before her head fell to the side, allowing her sight to fall upon the shocked faces of Applejack and Spike. She flicked her eyes around, recognizing the room layout of Ponyville General Hospital Intensive Care Ward.
Twilight!
Spike leapt from the hospital bed from his chair, only being stopped with a lurch when Applejack grabbed a hold of his tail. He looked back at her with confusion.
Applejack, what the—
The stampede of ponies in varying medical uniforms cut him off as they rushed into the room.
Heart rate spike, check her levels!
Eyes open! Alright, I need to...
Breathing normal, get those tubes out!
129.80.
Healing rate normal. I'm never gonna give you up.
Squee levels acceptable.
Magic pull still functional. Palette color still within.
Over 9,000. Okay, she's good, ponies. Move out.
The horde of scrub and white coat wearing ponies exited the room as quickly as they came, leaving a confused Twilight laying in the bed with many less tubes surrounding her. Applejack let go of Spike, who promptly completed his jump and hugged Twilight. Well, hugged her as best as he could with one arm and her neck in a brace.
Honestly, when did ensure good care change meaning into pit stop speed?
She shook her head before sticking out the door.
Hey gals, Twi's awake!
Almost instantly, 4 ponies appeared in the room, worry, relief, and joy warring for supremacy on their faces.
Twilight! Oh, I hope you're okay, Twilight. Yay, you're awake! We can finally have your you're awake party! Darling, I do hope you're feeling alright. This bed seems awfully thin for a recovering pony. What happened to him?
Twilight asked, her voice raspy but still audible over the din.
Where's...
The prisoner has been taken into custody by the Royal Guards ponies, at the request of Princess Celestia and Luna. Milady's brother, Shining Armor, has headed the interrogation, as Princess Celestia wanted to ensure Milady's health before speaking with the prisoner.
Twilight turned her head to look for the source of the voice, settling on the one pony in the room that she didn't know. The stallion that had saved her life. Every pony else also faced the strange stallion, who looked over at them passively.
Well, dang! That's more than he said in the last 3 days put together!
Applejack noted. Twilight coughed in an attempt to clear her throat.
Thank you. For saving my life, I mean.
The stallion looked at her with the same passiveness. It sent something of a chill down her spine. He looked like he was sleepwalking.
I was only doing my duty as first guard, milady. Who the heck are you anyways?
Spike piped up. Twilight and the other ponies watched the stallion's reaction, which was to reach up and scratch part of the brown circle around one of his eyes.
You remember Nightmare Night? The one where Luna came down and scared the hay out of every pony in Ponyville?
He looked Twilight in the eyes, and for a moment, she could see something behind the dull brown spheres. Some kind of memory of an emotion.
It was my first. I found it to be scary, but fun.
No pony moved. Spike, Pinkie Pie, Rarity, Applejack, Rainbow Dash, and Fluttershy were all struck into confusion at the stallion's non sequitur. Twilight was frozen with a terrified recognition.
Pipsqueak?
She finally choked out, and he blinked.
At your service, milady.
Wow. Action went from 0 to 100 really damn quick. I really do like how Pipsqueak is a badass as well. For some reason it fits him in a way. Anyways, let's get on to our badass donators. Top donators: Dash of Evergreen, Peter Coulthard, J Tin Man, Darkside, and Ponyman. CourierCruz CI, Strix, Zar630, Delta Omega, RuneScythe9852, Dospo, Rhiny Dragonwolf, Hunter Norman, Austin Roland, Secret Moon, Tall Rasha, The Toilet Snake, Sword Brother and Mordred, Cerberus, Goulash Eating Hazar, Ronin Wandering, Enderai63, Random Person Man Guy, Starlight Glimmer, Squiddy Boy, David E. Sanchez, Soul Dragon, Gaggy, Trey, Shadow Drake, Joe Piercy, Alex F., Rainbow Dash, Teal'c Anderson, TV Killer, John Becker, Leon Reynolds, Raven Speedster, Zach Rakow, Mr. ECU, Leslie Prickett, and Edgar Garcia. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.